2024 outfield rankings, 13 through 24, continuing from last week. Surprising new addition to the top 24 for us at least, Wyatt Langford. Tell us what you think after this. All right, welcome back, everybody, and thank you for logging in. Before we start, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and scan that QR code in the top right corner. That'll take you to all of our social medias. All right, continuing from last week. Last week, we tried to get through the top 20. We didn't even barely make it, dude. We only got through the top 12. So this week, I'm not going to be overzealous again. I'm going to say we're going to try to get through number 13 through 24, the next 12 on the list. All right, so first on the list, we have our 13th outfielder on the list at ADP 43, Randy Arozarena. And I'm pretty sure you've had Randy Arozarena on your league, Javi. So why don't you go ahead and take this one?
Yeah, I've actually had him a couple of years in a row. Randy Arozarena, I remember when he broke into the scene, there was a lot of hype on this guy. He's been okay so far. Definitely room for improvement. Last season he hit 254 with 23 home runs and 83 RBIs. And I noticed that every year since he came up, he's been declining, like little by little as far as batting average goes. I don't know if that's a trend. I don't know if he's 28. I don't know if we say 27, man strength, right? I don't know if at 28, if he still has room for improvement as far as his game, how he plays the game. He's giving you typical between 20, 25 home runs. That's like, that's what he's going to give you. No more, no less. And the RBIs are about the same the past couple of seasons. He's a great outfielder. I think as part of your fantasy team, he would be a good addition. I just don't see him. I just see him as what he is at this moment, right? I don't think he's gonna get any better than where he's at right now.
Yeah, I think ADP 43. I think that's a little like I wouldn't even say a little. That's like way too early for me, dude. Like I would never pick him, that early in the draft. He's such a streaky player, man. He has big moments and big situations, but he's so inconsistent. Kind of like what you said, like just a couple seasons ago, his batting average is a little bit higher. It's just kind of been like trickling down season by season. Season-long numbers actually look okay on paper, but the highs are high and the lows are low, man. And he's the type of guy that's either going to win your week or ruin your week. Sometimes you might even have contemplate dropping him throughout the season, but that's the type of guy. Like I feel like if you ended up drafting him, you just got to stick with him. If you drop him, someone else is going to pick him up, and then he's going to get on a hot streak, and then you're going to be bashing yourself over the head, thinking like, oh, why did I do this? And then he gets dropped again, and then you pick him up, and then that's when he hits his cold streak. I think that's the type of guy that hopefully you have another outfielder on your bench. So during those cold streaks, check the lefty-righty matchups. Check the ballparks that he's playing in. If he has a weekend series in Colorado, that's definitely a weekend that I would definitely want to start him all 3 days. But if he's in San Francisco against a righty pitcher, he doesn't really bat very good against righties. So I would definitely try to sit him maybe in San Francisco with, the wind pushing out to either side. Like the harder ballparks to hit home runs in, those are usually where I would want to sit Arozarena. But honestly, my best advice is either don't draft Randy Arozarena or ride with him to the end. You know, and
Dude,
if you get a decent trade offer, then that's something that you can figure out in the moment. If there's something out there that you need in return, go ahead and accept it.
yeah.
But I think Randy Arozarena, like, we already know who he is. The Cardinals kind of gave up on him, and the Rays gave him a chance, and he's had some shining moments, but overall, I personally would not want to draft him, especially at this price tag.
Yeah, he's one of those love hate guys. Usually when you set up your lineup at the start of the week, you feel pretty confident about it. But when you have him in there, you literally have to do your homework and see, does this matchup work out for him, or is this gonna screw me and he's gonna strike out 3 times, and now I'm down. Depending on what kind of league I'm in, I'm either down in points or I'm down in categories, right? So this is one of those dudes that you actually have to do your homework on and make sure that you got the right matchups for him to for you to plug him into your team.
Yeah, I will say, though, back-to-back seasons with 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases, that can be pretty valuable, even if the batting average is pretty low. A little bit more valuable in categories leagues than in points leagues. I'd rather have him in categories than, in points, which is probably why the ADP is a little bit higher, because, 2020, those are the guys that you kind of want to target, even with the batting average being so low. The lack of walks in 2022 is what kind of like killed his overall value, but he actually doubled his walks in 2023. In 2022, he had 46 walks. 2023, he had 80 walks. With 156 strikeouts. 156 strikeouts in how many games did he play? I think he played like 150 games. 151 games. So that's actually not too bad. That's about a strikeout per game.
Yeah.
It's pretty average, maybe even a little bit below average in today's game. Now, something I don't really know what to do with, his exit velocities look really good, similar to 2022, which should mean a lot of extra base hits. But in 2022, he had 41 doubles with 20 home runs. In 2023, he only had 19 doubles and 23 home runs. I find that very weird. So I don't know if it's he just stopped pulling the ball or, whatever it may be. But hopefully he gets back to those 2022 numbers, 41 doubles. That's pretty significant. That's near elite numbers right there.
Yeah. Are you picking him up? Would you pick him up?
If he was on the waiver wire, I would pick him up. Am I drafting him? I don't think I'm going to draft him. No,
right.
I don't think he's worth it. It really depends on what my draft is looking at the time. Like, if I have no outfielders yet, then maybe I'm like, all right, well, Arozarena is the best one out there. I got to get my first outfielder right now.
Gotcha.
That's the kind of mindset that I would be in. But if there's other starting pitchers or other positions that I need in addition to outfield, then I'd probably go for one of those other positions. It's. Going back
I think I'm done drafting him.
I think
I'm
so
moving on.
Too.
Give me some young blood.
Sprint speed dropped a little bit, but he's still 79th percentile, so you can basically kind of lock him in for 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases every season. All right, and that was Randy Arozarena, number 13 on our list. Now moving on to number 14 on our list. We have Christian Yelich. Number 14 on our list at ADP 72. So this is about 30 picks later than Randy Arozarena. Christian Yelich, this is the guy that was MVP a few seasons ago, and then one back injury, and it's just been downhill from there.
That's crazy, man. I remember how much we used to talk about this guy every time we would do a podcast or whenever we would do drafts. Yelich was at the top of everybody's board. Great hitter, great outfielder. Always batting average was always up there. Last season he was at 278, 19 home runs, 76 RBIs. Man, that's like, what happened?
Yeah.
He used to be one of the best hitters in baseball, and 2018, 2019 were his peak years, and ever since then, dude, it's just been like he is like non-existent, bro. Like you look at like the top outfielders now, and when you see Yelich, you're like, oh yeah, I remember him. You know, which kind of sucks because he used to be an elite hitter, and
Yeah.
now it's just
I mean, that was
yeah,
that
I
big
get
trade when he got traded from the Marlins going over to the
yeah,
Brewers. Like that was
yeah,
what everyone was talking about.
yep, yep, and now to me he's more like a veteran guy on the ball club, trying to help the younger guys, with whatever they're working on and stuff like that. Which is still important, right? As far as baseball goes. But as far as fantasy, um, I don't know, man. Like I stay away from Yelich simply because
I
he
mean,
don't got the numbers like that.
yeah, he's going into his age 32 season. He's been around the block a few times. He did have somewhat of a bounce back season, though. This past season, batting 278 with 19 home runs, 106 runs, 76 RBI, 28 stolen bases. Dude, last
Yeah,
season he only had 19. The season before that was 9. In 2020, you can't really count that. But in 2019, when he won the MVP, he was up at 30. So he's only 2 shy away from his MVP season.
yeah,
The home runs are definitely lacking. He only had 19 home runs compared to 44 back in 2019. But that was a completely different player. I feel like we can't even
yeah.
compare him to that player anymore.
Yeah, even
Um,
before those 2 years, before those 2 seasons that he had, he was never really a big home run guy, right?
yeah, I mean,
To me, he
what?
was more like a batting guy, a batting average.
Yeah,
A hitter, an actual pure hitter. That's what I feel that he is. That's what he
well,
is known for.
remember 2019 was still part of that juice ball era. That's when everyone was
Yeah,
hitting 40 home runs that season, you know?
yeah,
So I think this is the type of season that can actually make Christian Yelich stand out. The 278 batting average with 19 home runs, 28 stolen bases at 31 years old. I think that's awesome,
yeah,
especially to get in the late, mid to late rounds, ADP 72, about the 5th round. 140 strikeouts with 78 walks. That's actually a pretty decent ratio. This is the type of production that I honestly think that we can expect from Christian Yelich in 2024 also. And that's mainly because his expected numbers, they're right in line with his actual numbers, dude.
mm,
Expected batting average, expected slug, it's all there. But the thing is with Christian Yelich in 2021, he suffered from that back injury. We kind of thought he was just done because he just got into this slump and it just took him so long to get out. But, I actually wouldn't mind drafting Christian Yelich this year. I feel comfortable, thinking that he's probably going to bat close to 270, 20 home runs, maybe 25 to 30 stolen bases again. I would much rather actually have Christian Yelich than Randy Arozarena. The difference is Christian Yelich has that back thing, so
hmm
it's a little it makes me a little weary about drafting Christian Yelich.
right.
Where Randy Arozarena, like you said, he's 28 years old. He still has some upside. We've seen him, increase his power numbers and stolen bases. So he's on the rise. Whereas Christian Yelich, it's like he's a question mark. I don't
Now,
really know like what to do with him.
now, would you rather have him in categories or in points league?
I think either one, because the batting average is good. Plate discipline is okay. Um, he's kind of like an all around player. He's not great at anything, but he's good at everything. At least in 2023, that was the fact. Whereas Randy Arozarena, it's like he's good at some things and he's really bad at some other
Yeah,
things. The plate discipline. So um,
yeah, the streakiness. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. The ground ball percentage for Christian Yelich was also at a 57.4%. I'd like to see that drop a little bit. League average is at 44.6%, so he's about 13% over league average. And the fly ball percentage was a little bit low at 17.3%. If he can raise that launch angle, dude, I think that we can actually see another 25 home run season from Christian Yelich, maybe even a little bit more.
yeah, yeah. That'd be sick. That would actually be a plus.
I think that would be a steal, man, because
Yeah,
even though his ADP is 72, I don't think a lot of people are really drafting him that high.
no,
That's across like 5 different platforms, so It's just an average, but depending on what type of league you play in, I think you could actually get him in later rounds, and that could be a steal for you.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
All right, man. This is the guy that everyone has been waiting for us to talk about, dude.
Man.
Mike Trout. Mike Trout, once considered the best player in all of baseball. And it wasn't just a couple seasons that he was considered the best player in baseball. This was a 10-year stretch that everyone was just like, he is above and beyond just the best. We were drafting him number 1 overall for 6-7 years in a row. And now, talking about Christian Yelich's injuries, Mike Trout, dude, the injuries that he's had, it's just over and over again every year. It just keeps on happening. We talked about Judge's injuries. We talked about Yordan Alvarez's injuries. Honestly, those guys are up there because of their production. Mike Trout doesn't even have the production to back it up anymore, dude.
Yeah, man. It's literally a fall from grace, man. This guy, everybody knows Mike Trout. Always at the top of everybody's draft boards, years ago. Last season was obviously injuries kind of took over that season for him. He only batted .263 with 18 home runs and 44 RBIs. So I was doing the math on this, right? In a 4-year stretch of MLB games is 648 games. He's only played in 290 games. Dude, that's
terrible.
2 seasons. That's like 2 seasons, dude.
Yeah.
Like 2 full seasons if you look at it. And he's 32, right? And the body's not, it's starting to take a toll, right? He's had foot injuries, elbow injuries, back injuries, hand injuries. It's like, bro, if you put his, silhouette on the screen and you put the colors of where the injuries are at, his whole body would probably be covered in red, bro.
And dude, they keep on playing him in center field. If you know that the legs aren't working anymore, dude, just put him in DH. I know they had Shohei Ohtani. They needed Ohtani to be the DH for the whole season. And I get it for that stretch. But he's been injured long before Ohtani got there. Well, maybe not long before Ohtani got there, but before they knew that Ohtani was going to turn into this huge superstar. They should have been treating Mike Trout, a little bit cautiously, throughout the seasons. But it's I know that guy's work ethic. I've seen him in interviews. He doesn't want to DH. He wants to play the field. He is a center fielder, and he is one of the best center fielders. But dude just can't stay healthy, man.
Dude, he kind of reminds me of LeBron James, right? You're at that age where you kind of got to look out for your body. You got to treat it right. You got to take a rest here and there.
Yeah.
In baseball, it's great that they have a DH spot because you're not out in the field, wrecking your body. But like LeBron, he wants to play. He wants to make those plays out in the outfield. He wants to be batting, bottom of the ninth, driving in his runs and stuff he wants to be out there, and it's all good and dandy, but you might be doing more damage to the team, if you want to be selfish like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. We've only seen Mike Trout in the playoffs once. And that's a travesty, dude. Best player in baseball for such a long time. We've only seen the Angels go to the playoffs once,
bro. And there's no way he's getting a ring, dog. There's no way. And
no way. Dude. The only way is if he actually okays a trade to go somewhere to another team that actually has a chance to go to the World Series. But it really seems like the only other place that he would want to go is maybe Philly because he's kind of from this area. Yeah. But I mean, do we really see Philly going to the World Series anytime soon? They haven't really been making too many moves after the Bryce Harper move. All they really did was just get Trey Turner, which Trey Turner's great. But he's a shortstop. They're not going after any pitching. They re-signed Nola. Nola's fine. He's a good number 3 starter in my opinion, but they have him as the number 2. Behind Zach Wheeler, and Zach Wheeler's good. He's really good, but he's also a little bit older, so I see him as a number 2 also.
Yeah.
I don't really see him as an ace. You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
you need that like shut down ace that's going to go out there and pitch over 200 innings with 250 strikeouts, like the Braves have with Spencer Strider. You know, that's the type of pitcher that you need. A younger pitcher that can go, 6-7 innings every time he goes out there. Durability is big. The Braves are so smart with what they did. But that's enough about that, because this is the outfield preview. All right. So Mike Trout, I mean, I really only have him at this spot, in the outfield rankings, just because he's Mike Trout, man, and I kind of got to give him the benefit of the doubt until he's like really done, until he's completely done.
I hope they use him the right way this season. I don't know if that makes sense. Just so he can have a good, long, healthy season, because Mike Trout playing baseball is awesome baseball. I love watching Mike Trout freaking play, and I love his swing. He's a great player. He's a humble dude. It just sucks like he's on a crappy team. Sorry, Ernie.
Yeah. Sorry, Ernie. Yeah, but it's now that Shohei Ohtani's gone. Maybe he'll actually be more willing to play DH rather than playing center field every day. Like, it's fine to still play in the field, but give your legs a break, man. That's like the biggest thing. Like those have been the biggest injuries for Mike Trout. It's always a calf thing or a hamstring thing, or I think a healthy Mike Trout is a dangerous Mike Trout. And that's the type of player that we want to see going forward. We don't want to see him running around in the outfield every single day and potentially getting hurt.
No.
All right, that was Mike Trout. Moving on to our next outfielder on the list, we have Nolan Jones at number 16. Kicking off the 5th tier. Let me see. I got it here somewheres. There we go. All right, so Nolan Jones. Nolan Jones actually came onto the scene last year, I believe was his first season. 2022, he only saw 399 pitches, played in 28 games. So he had a little bit of some MLB experience, but that was with Cleveland. Moves over to Colorado, and now all of a sudden, Nolan Jones is on the top 20 for outfielders. Nolan Jones, do you know much about this guy?
Not too much. He had great stats last season. I'll tell you that. He batted .297, which is great. But then he plays in the Rockies in Colorado. So 20 home runs, 62 RBIs, 20 stolen bases, man. This guy looks like he's like one of them all around like 2020 guys, which is great. The Rockies are a young team. They're starting to put their pieces together. They got a couple of young guys that are really good. As far as fantasy goes, like maybe like keeper league would be cool, because he's young. But I feel like he's got a lot of upside, playing in Colorado. I think the upside is there.
Now, you mentioned the 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases last season, but you didn't mention that was only in 106 games. So imagine this guy in 162 games. That's like closer to 30 and 30. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see a 30-30 season from Nolan Jones next season. And I'm actually very excited for Nolan Jones. I have him in the keeper league, and I'm kind of debating, like, oh man, do I keep Nolan Jones or do I keep, Max Fried? Do I take the chance on a really cheap rookie that I can keep for $5, or do I keep Max Fried? That's like, I think he's like $24 or something like that in our salary cap. Yeah. So Nolan Jones, I'm actually pretty excited about him, man. I think that we could be talking about Nolan Jones as a top 10 outfielder next season. 94th percentile. 94th percentile barrel percentage. That's 15.7% barrel percentage compared to the league, which is 6.9. So he's hitting the ball pretty square. 89th percentile on expected slug at 501. League average is 406. 96th percentile max exit velocity 115.3 miles an hour off the bat. That's great to hear in playing in Colorado. Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And just like you said, he's a young dude. He's only 25 years old, going into his age 26 season. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of the man strength a little bit early, and then full blown at 27, 28 years old. So next couple seasons actually look pretty bright for him, man.
I like this dude. He's a little, he's down there on the list only because he's only really had one season.
Yeah.
But definitely, I could see him moving up top 10 next year for sure.
Yeah, you know what's crazy though? His numbers are actually slightly better away from Coors than they are at Coors. So once he kind of gets like adjusted playing at Coors Field, I feel like this guy could be even, a top 5 outfielder eventually. We're talking about Corbin Carroll going so early with he barely had 20 home runs, right? It was like 20 home runs with like 54 stolen bases, and that's a full season. And this guy hit 20 home runs just in 106 games, and he's playing in Colorado. I feel like there's going to be a lot of people out there that there's going to be some doubt because he plays in Colorado, just like there was with Nolan Arenado. Arenado was playing in Colorado, and DJ LeMahieu, and then they go off to other teams. And, of course, they're not performing as well as they were in Coors. But this guy's away numbers are looking even better than they are than at Coors. So I feel like, we could see some really big things from Nolan Jones in the near future.
Yeah, if you got Nolan Jones and a keeper, ooh, you're in for some fun, son.
I'm thinking about it, man. I'm thinking about it. And after when we locked our 4 players and then the 2 expansion teams, they're going to be drafting from every team on the league. And I have a feeling someone's going to take Max Fried, and then the decision's just going to be made for him. Right. And then I'll end up keeping Nolan Jones, and I think
you won't be mad. You won't be mad either way.
Yeah, I don't think so. At least not in the beginning. And then all of a sudden he turns into a fantasy bust, and I'm like, well, he was only $5, so
no biggie.
All right, moving on to our next player, Josh Lowe. Now, we talked about this before. Is it Josh Lowe or Josh Lau? I think it's Nate Lowe and Josh Lau.
I want to say Lowe.
I don't know. We'll figure it out, and then next time we talk about him on the show, we'll
make sure if somebody wants to let us know in the comments,
please let us know in the comments. Any Tampa Bay fans out there that if you know how to say his name, I guess we should start watching some Tampa Bay broadcasts, so that way we can figure out how to say this guy's name.
There you go.
All right, so Josh Lowe, 25 years old, pretty young. 16th outfielder on our list at ADP 99. I actually really like this ADP 99.
Yeah, that's not bad, man. 20 home runs, 83 RBI, 32 stolen bases. Yeah, I could rock with that.
Pretty good.
I think this guy is along the lines with Nolan Jones, man. Like they're young. They have great stats. Lowe plays on a good team. I don't see why not, why he wouldn't be able to move up to the top 10 as well. It was really his first season, last season, right? First real season, I think.
First full season, yeah, because he played 52 games in 2022.
Yeah. So, I picked him up a couple times throughout the season last year, and he had he was hot for a minute, then he kind of dropped, so I had to drop him. Then he got hot again, and I just hope he's not one of them streaky guys, but the stats, they say different. Hopefully, he can continue, producing the way he did last season.
Yeah, he played 135 games, so almost a complete full season for Josh Lowe, whatever. Looks like the Rays are actually planning to move Josh Lowe up in the batting order. Last season, Lowe mainly batted in the 7 and 8 hole. Now, with the allegations against Wander Franco, it appears the Rays have a hole in the number 2 spot and in the lineup, and that's exactly where he's projected to hit on a lot of websites that I've been looking at. So Josh Lowe could take a huge step forward this coming season. We've already seen that he can bat close to 300, puts the ball in the air a lot, and has started hitting the ball harder each season since 2021 debut. 25-25 with 100 runs, 90 RBI, 30-plus stolen bases seems likely for Josh Lowe. And you did mention that he had 32 stolen bases last season, but I just want to add a little bit to that. He only got caught 3 times.
Wow.
So in 35 attempts, he had 32 successful stolen bases. That's awesome, dude.
Dude, that's in 130 games?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I think he has some big sleeper potential, dude, going at number 99.
No.
He's on my radar.
That's a good spot. That's a good spot for him. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, this could be another one where we could be drafting him a lot higher next season. So Josh Lowe, good sleeper.
There you go.
All right. Next up on the list, we have Bryan Reynolds, 18th outfielder on our list at ADP 75. So he's actually going a little bit before Josh Lowe, but because of the reasons that I just mentioned, I do have Josh Lowe just a little bit higher than Bryan Reynolds on my outfielder rankings. Bryan Reynolds, honestly, man, I think he's looking really good, but he's on the Pirates.
Yeah. I think he's one of those players that gets slept on a lot. Like the reason why I heard about him a lot last season was trade rumors. They were trying to trade him, and I don't know what happened, but they ended up giving him a new contract. I think he signed for like 8 years or something like that. But his numbers are always good, man. He's right there, like between 260 and 270. He's gonna give you between 20, 25 home runs, 80, 90 RBIs, and the guy, he's to me, he's kind of like that whole team is young. They're putting their pieces together. They were hot last season when they started. And I think he's like that leader. He's gonna be that guy. That's how I see him. But he's a stud, dude. What ADP was he? 70 what?
75.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot for him too.
Yeah, that's fine. If it was closer to his 2021 numbers where he batted 302, with an expected batting average of 293, I think people are thinking that maybe he just had a down season, which I'm thinking it too. Like you said, his numbers are solid, but I think that he's closer to like a 300 hitter. I think last season he might have been just like, a little bit discouraged, with the trade rumors and stuff like that. And then finally, when they gave him his extension, he, finally started feeling a little bit better about his situation in Pittsburgh. No. And the Pirates are actually making some moves. So I did see a couple off-season signings that they've done. And it looks like maybe not ready to compete yet, but at least they're like, trying to make some fans happy and trying to get the morale up, within the team.
Yeah. They got a lot of nice young pieces out there, man. Pittsburgh can be solid, dude. They'll be solid.
Yeah, they have a really nice ballpark too. I'd love to go down there, PNC Park, with like the bridge in the background and everything.
It's only 4 hours away, bro. You let me know.
Is it 4? I thought it was more like 7.
Nah, I think it's a 4-hour drive.
Hey, if it's a 4-hour drive, dude.
Well, I don't know. Maybe from you, it might be a little longer. I'm not sure.
You're only like an hour from me, so
yeah.
We could definitely make the trip though. Take a weekend, go down there,
I'm down.
Find out when the Dodgers are going to Pittsburgh. I would definitely do that,
dude. Hey, let's plan it out.
Yeah, I actually can't make it to any of the Dodgers Phillies games this season because my son's graduating from high school at the same day that the Dodgers get here. They're the first game of their series, and my parents and my sister and all of them are flying in for my son's graduation. So that's fine though. I get to go to every Dodgers Phillies game. Every single year. So missing 1 year is not going to be that big of a deal. But if we can,
break, bro.
Yeah, last year I actually went to Boston to go see the Dodgers play. It was Mookie
Yeah,
Betts' first time playing back at Fenway. That was cool. So
yeah, I remember you told me about that.
yeah, so maybe this season I'll take a trip to Pittsburgh instead of Philly this year. You know.
Yeah,
All right, so back to Bryan Reynolds. His 2023 batting average was a little bit lower than his expected batting average, so hopefully that can kind of work itself out a little bit in 2024. Like you said, batting average was 263. Expected batting average was 276. Exit velocities look good. Barrel rate looks really good. Strikeout rate for someone that doesn't hit that many home runs is a little high for me. I'd like to see him drop that strikeout rate just a little bit. The 12 stolen bases. Now that 12 stolen bases last season. That's actually a career high for him. 7 the year before and only 5 the year before that. So definitely taking advantage of those bigger bases and other rules that MLB has implemented this season. He's pretty consistent throughout the season, but he really turned it on in the second half, hitting 15 of his 24 home runs after the All-Star break. So you love to see a strong finish. I feel like that's one of the reasons why his ADP got a little bit higher also. Solid option with minimal pop and a sudden increase in stolen bases. So, he's not a zero in speed, but 12 stolen bases last season. That's not like something that you can look for, but it's definitely a good bonus.
yeah, yeah. I like Bryan Reynolds at that ADP spot. He definitely all around average home runs, RBI, and hopefully stolen bases. Remember, I told you guys like I think the whole size of the bases is gonna be a big. It's gonna be a big difference from one year to another.
Yeah,
And we've
the
seen a
big
bunch
pizza
of guys just
box.
fucking, that. Yeah, yeah. Like freaking Freeman, right? How many stolen bases did he have?
Oh, dude, 20 something.
What the, where the hell? Where did that come from? He wasn't doing
Yeah,
that
dude.
before.
And Freeman's sprint speed is like 40th percentile, like lower half of the league. And this guy was like right in the middle with a bunch of guys to steal a bunch of bases. So weird.
Yeah, crazy man, crazy. But that's awesome, man. It's exciting for baseball.
Yeah, definitely. All right. 19th outfielder on our list at ADP 103 is Evan Carter. So he was a rookie last season, and he actually only played 23 games. So going into 2024, he should actually keep his rookie eligibility, his prospect status. So he has a chance to win Rookie of the Year next season. Honestly, I think it might be between this guy, Evan Carter, and Jackson Holiday from the Orioles. And another name that we'll talk about later that we kind of mentioned earlier, he could be up there also, but actually his teammate. So Evan Carter, there's not a lot of StatCast information on this guy, but he is in the 96th percentile on sprint speed.
Yeah.
Only had 3 stolen bases, but that was only in 23 games. Did you watch him at all during the World Series? Were you able to catch the playoffs and watch this guy?
I did not, but I did a little reading on the guy, and I heard he's a speedster, and I heard he has great plate discipline. Um, I heard that they call him a full count Carter, which is kind of cool,
Is
because
that a plate
he
discipline?
yeah, because of the because he walks a lot and he doesn't strike out a lot, I guess. But I'm kind of excited to see what this guy can do. Like you said, there's not really a lot to go off of. I didn't watch the World Series because my Dodgers weren't in it, but that's okay. But I mean, if he's up here like with these other guys that are proven, it says something about the guy, right? He's what prospect is he? Like how high is he up there on that list?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look at that. I know he's up there. I know he's in the top 10. But honestly, dude, so a lot of people saw him in the postseason. He played 17 games. He batted 300, 10 extra base hits, 3 stolen bases, 10 walks to 19 strikeouts. But before getting the call in the minors, he batted 288 with 13 home runs and 26 stolen bases in 108 games. So the stolen bases, the 96th percentile and sprint speed, that definitely showed in the minors. 13 home runs in 108 games. he's still super young, dude. He's only 20 years old, last season. So going into his age 21 season, he doesn't really hit the ball exceptionally hard. His exit velocity was at 89 miles an hour. His max exit velocity was at 107.5 miles per hour. So, but it's also a really small sample size. But dude, I think that this guy has it all. He batted 300 in every level of the minors, and then even in his little cup of coffee that he had in the major leagues, he batted 300 also. He showed out in the playoffs. He batted 300 in the playoffs, and honestly, I think that this guy could be another one. Like I said, rookie of the year potential next season.
Yeah, that's what's up. I'm excited.
Yeah, a lot of people actually have our next guy on the list a little bit ahead of Evan Carter, but I don't. So the next guy on our list is George Springer from the Toronto Blue Jays, formerly of the cheating 2017 Houston Astros.
Boo.
Yeah, boo. Anyway, everyone thought that George Springer was going to go to Toronto, and well, I can't say everyone thought, because there were some people that were skeptical, is he legit or was he cheating? And I don't know, because he keeps on getting hurt. So it's hard to really tell. Last season he was 33 years old, played 154 games. So it was actually the first time that he's played at least 150 games since 2016. So dude's always getting hurt. I can't really, I don't really like guys that are, made of glass. But you can't deny that the talent's there. We've seen enough from George Springer to know that, the 2017 Astros, you can say whatever you want about them, but he was actually legit. He's a good baseball player.
Yeah, that's the leadoff bomb hitter, man.
Yeah, like you said, Springer dinger.
Yeah, every freaking replay or every highlight on ESPN, you used to see this dude hitting bombs at first at bat, so yeah, I've never really been a big George Springer guy. He's just kind of mid to me. He's not. He was more exciting when he was with the Astros. Right now that he's on the Blue Jays, to me, he's just more of a, that's another young team. This dude, he's up there in age. He's like another veteran presence for the young fellas to, to follow. 21 home runs, 72 RBIs, 34. He's 34. That's not too bad, right?
Yeah, he's going into his age 34 season. It's not bad.
Yeah.
He's definitely not the same player that he was with the Astros, nowhere near that player. 2023, like I said, it was only the second time in George Springer's career that he played more than 140 games.
That is pretty impressive.
Yeah, especially at his age. I don't know if he played a lot of DH last season. I don't think he did. They got a lot of players on that team that could use that DH spot more than he can, but or at least he should, because they're more productive. But at this point in the draft, at ADP 93, I think I'm looking more for upside or consistency. And honestly, George Springer's not the guy that has upside or consistency. If I'm going to take a risk on someone, it's not going to be George Springer. It's going to be one of these other younger guys that have a lot of upside.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point in the draft, I probably already have two of my outfielders. His ADP is 93. So I probably already have two outfielders. I could definitely take a chance on, actually, I think the next four outfielders on my list, I would rather take a chance on than George Springer. But, his ADP is just, it's so high up there that I had to put him number 20 on the list.
Maybe you think it's because of the name, because everybody knows who George Springer is and
probably
what he's done. That's why he's that high. Yeah,
it could be.
I can see that. But yeah, I would, the next four guys. Yeah, I could see myself taking them as well. I just think he hit his ceiling. He hit his ceiling a long time ago. you
Yeah,
know,
I
and
agree.
it's kind of time to move on. And you got a bunch of young, hungry guys coming up, from the minors and stuff. And you're right. I'd rather take a chance on a busted young guy than a decent Springer. Because
Yeah,
there's always upside to a younger guy than a guy that's
exactly.
already, in his age 34 year.
Yeah. The only thing I will say for Springer is 20 stolen bases. That's actually a career high for him at 35 years old. So
Yeah.
that's a little surprising. And another guy taking advantage of those bigger pizza boxes that they have at every base. But
Yeah.
uh, do I trust the speed? Do I think he's going to do it again? I don't think so, man. He's getting too old for that. I think the legs are eventually going to just give out. And I mean, he's still an outfielder. He still plays in the outfield, but like we said, he's only played 140 plus games twice in his career. So I just don't trust it. I think last season, if he was on your team, great. You did good. Holding on to him for the whole season, but I don't trust him for 2024. I think that I would much rather have number 21 on our list, Seiya Suzuki. Seiya Suzuki in 2023, he was pretty solid for most of the season, man. He had that slump in June and July,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you remember like all of like the media and everything going on about David Ross's decision to give him like the mental break. I don't know if you remember that, but he
Mm-mm.
so he was slumping real hard for a solid like 2 months.
I
He dropped
remember
his
that.
batting average. He was batting over 300, and then
Yep.
his batting average dropped to like 240 or something like that, just within like a short amount of time. So David Ross decides to give him a mental break. He played like 4 games within like a 2 week period, and
Mm.
all of a sudden after that, Seiya Suzuki just caught fire again. So
Yeah.
he had a really strong finish. I think that's one of the reasons why I really like Seiya Suzuki. I feel like he's the type of guy that like if he can figure it out, then I'll take a chance on him more than I
Yeah.
would trust George Springer.
Yeah. I remember. I think Tony was he had him on his squad, and he was trying to deal him with whoever would trade with him. And I don't think nobody bit on it, and he ended up getting on that hot streak. Um, yeah, he had a really good season, man. I remember mid-season, like past mid-season, he was just like a forgotten guy. Beginning of the season, he was great. Oh my God, he was like over 300. He was hitting bombs. And he was making noise, dude. Um, so I hope he's not one of them dudes that is a streaky guy as well. Um, how old is he?
He is 28 years old.
Yeah, he's cool. Yeah,
Yeah, he was an
he's not.
international free agent, and he came over a little bit later, like most of these guys do. It's very rare that you actually see a guy like Shohei Ohtani that comes over at like 24 years old.
Yeah.
Most of the time, these guys are already coming over after they've already established a career in the KBO or the Japanese league or wherever it is that they came from, which Seiya Suzuki did. And, he made a name for himself over there. And now going into his age 29 season, I think I like Seiya Suzuki, man. After that mental break from August 11th and on, he batted 356 with 11 home runs, 15 doubles, 4 triples, the lowest K percentage of the season with 1,028 OPS. To finish the season like that, that puts some stock in your fantasy value.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Hopefully,
Now
hopefully that carries over.
exactly. That's the question:
Yeah.
is did this fix Suzuki for good? Or is he going to need another mental break? Next season,
Mm.
which we're not going to find out because David Ross is not the manager of the Cubs anymore. So
Who's their
uh,
manager now?
I think Craig Counsell, right? Didn't Craig Counsell get
Oh,
hired by the
you're
Cubs?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah. They
we'll
were
see,
mad
man.
about that. They were mad
Yeah.
about that because they're in the same division.
Yeah. Exactly. And
Yep.
I like Craig Counsell a lot. David Ross is very green. He
Hmm.
was the catcher for the Cubs when they won the World Series back in what was that, like 2015, something like that.
Something like
And then
that.
he just went straight from like player to manager. Like it was so fast how that happened. But I feel like he did a good job for his little manager stint that he did. I'm surprised the Cubs actually moved on from him so quickly. But if the Cubs didn't lock up Craig Counsell, then he would have went somewhere else. And managers are actually getting paid pretty good money now. Craig Counsell, I think, is the highest paid manager in Major League Baseball right now.
Oh wow. What's up?
Yeah. Can't blame the guy. Can't blame the Cubs for going after one of the best managers in baseball either.
Yeah.
All right, so that was Seiya Suzuki, and moving on to number 22, I believe, Nick Castellanos. So now Nick Castellanos has had a lot of ups and downs, man. He's not the same guy that he was when he played with the Reds, but Cincinnati, that's Great American Small Park, that's what they call it. And dingers and dingers and more dingers, but now Nick Castellanos, he moved on, started in Detroit. Excuse me. Started in Detroit, played with the Cubs, and then Cincinnati, and then now he's in Philly, found a home in Philly. And it looks like he might even finish his career there because he did sign a multi-year deal. What do you think about Nick Castellanos? Yay or nay?
I had him last season in my on my team, and I mean his numbers were solid, dude. I think he had a lot of strikeouts. He's 31 years old. He batted .272, 29 home runs, and 106 RBIs. That's pretty solid for playing in Philly's ballpark. But the strikeouts were up there. I don't have the exact number, but I know they were up there. I mean,
yeah, looks like 183 strikeouts. Jeez.
Yeah. It was like super inflated. But to me, Castellanos has always been kind of like a real solid outfielder. Just he's gonna give you your 25 home runs. He's gonna give you your 90 to 100 RBIs. He's not gonna wow you. I just think that's just kind of like the player that he is, and maybe he's up there in age as well. He's not like one of those exciting dudes, but you're not going for excitement as far as fantasy league goes, right? You're going for numbers and stuff like that. So, I think he's a pretty solid guy. Where do you have him on ADP?
ADP, he is. Shoot, I didn't write that down, but I will get that right now. Nick Castellanos, he did have 29 home runs last season, which was a lot more than he had the previous season. And he played 136 games in 2022, 157 games in 2023. But his home runs went up from 13 to 29. Let's see, 2024 ADP. Yeah, I know he's pretty low on the list, and it's basically because he's just he's been declining in the last few years, and everyone's known it. Ever since he went to Philly, which is usually a great place to hit, but I don't know, maybe sometimes it just takes a little while for guys to kind of get like adjusted to new ballparks, kind of like with Trey Turner.
Yep.
Right,
maybe he needs a standing ovation too, bro.
Yeah, maybe. So Nick Castellanos is ADP 102, so he's actually going a little bit ahead of Seiya Suzuki.
Yeah, for what he gives you, that's not a bad spot for him either.
Yeah, that's not bad. He struggled a little bit in July, but he was solid otherwise. Like you said, I think his biggest con is the strikeouts and the lack of walks. Way too many strikeouts, man. Yeah. But he puts the ball in the air a decent amount, above league average, and he maximizes his slug percentage by pulling the ball more than league average. So I think that's kind of like all we really have to say about Nick Castellanos, that he puts the ball in the air, pulls it. That's where the home runs are going to come from. He's not a standout in a lot of categories. He did hit 272 last season. That's pretty good. Let's see what his expected batting average was last season. Expected batting average was 258, so a little bit lower than his actual number. So looks like he got a little bit lucky, but that could also be park factors. Playing in Philadelphia, ball seems to travel a little bit better there than a lot of other ballparks. But yeah, he's fine. He's a fine option. I wouldn't mind him as like my maybe utility player, not really as my third outfielder. I'm hoping to have my outfield already like locked up by then. Yeah. But if anything,
I mean, you could always have him on the bench.
Yeah. Either bench. I mean, in a points league, I don't really like to have hitters on my bench. I'd rather much have pitchers. They're the ones that can get like 20 points in a day, versus the only way a batter's going to get that is if he hits for the cycle or something. Yeah. All right, moving on to number 23, Teoscar Hernandez. New signing for the Dodgers, man. I kind of like this signing for the Dodgers, too. Like, a lot of people are talking crap, like, what about Chris Taylor? What about Chris Taylor? Man, Chris Taylor's offense has been booty for the last, 3 seasons, 2017, he was amazing. 2018, he was still really good. And I feel like after the pandemic, he just kind of took like a nosedive, but he's also getting a lot older. What I do like about Chris Taylor, though, is that he plays every position except for first catcher and pitcher. So he can bounce around and fill holes where he needs to. But I still feel like Teoscar Hernandez is going to get a lot of at-bats. He's going to be the primary left fielder for the Dodgers.
How old is Teoscar Hernandez?
Teoscar Hernandez is going into his age 31 season.
Oh, that's all right. I personally I love this signing, dude. 258 last season, 26 home runs, 93 RBIs with the Mariners. I mean, that's awesome, dude. I mean, and he's kind of like a veteran dude too. He's been around. And if he can give the Dodgers numbers like this, oh my God. Yes, please.
Yeah. I would love that, especially because he's played in ballparks that didn't really do him any favors. Toronto and Seattle, they're not really known as hitters' ballparks, and the Dodgers Stadium is actually kind of right in the middle. Like, it's not a good hitters' ballpark, but it's also not a good pitchers' ballpark. It's kind of like a neutral versus like Toronto and Seattle that are more pitchers' ballparks. So I like what I'm seeing on paper, man. His barrel percentage is higher than league average. Exit velocity looks really good, around 92 miles per hour. Max exit velocity around 113 miles per hour. Hits the sweet spot on the bat a lot. The K percentage, man, that's what's killing me. It was up last season from previous seasons, 31.1%. Over 30% for a guy that doesn't hit 40 home runs. If you're hitting 40 home runs, I don't care what your strikeout percentage is, but let's see, he only hit 26 home runs. So if you're only hitting 26 home runs, your strikeout rate needs to drop a lot, man. But ground ball percentage is right in line with league average. He puts the ball in the air a decent amount, and he hits the ball really hard when he actually does make contact. So I think that's probably the reason why he has a lot of strikeouts. The launch angle isn't really there, which is probably the lack of home runs. But he does hit the ball hard. So I'll give him that. I think the Dodgers can actually do some really good things with Teoscar Hernandez, and this could be a potential sleeper as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. Maybe him being on the Dodgers, they can kind of work out the kinks where he's struggling as far as the strikeouts go. But for the Dodgers, I love that signing, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, ADP 126. So he's definitely going towards the later rounds of the draft. He could be. If you're kind of debating about who you want to pick up at that time, and Teoscar's kind of floating around, give him a shot, man, because he's probably going to play 150 games for one of the best lineups in baseball. Runs and RBIs are going to tick up, potentially maybe more home runs. You never know.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right, moving on to our last outfielder of part 2 of the 2024 outfield preview. Wyatt Langford has not even played an MLB game yet, and he is on our top 24 list, man. Well, at least on mine, because this is my rankings. But Wyatt Langford, dude, prospects are always wild cards, but Wyatt Langford really looks like the real deal, man. He's hit above 300 at every level with power and with speed. He was derailed in 2023 by one of the worst things that can happen to any baseball player and any man. He was hit on the balls with a pitch, and it ruptured his testicle, and he was out. Yeah, it sucks, dude. And super young guy, man. Super young guy. Let's see. He's
21, right?
22. He's 22 years old. Yeah, that kind of sucked for him, dude. But he's going on to the former, World Series champions with the Texas Rangers. There's only one guy that's standing in his way. That's Leody Taveras. He's like he's a whatever guy. He's not fantasy relevant really, like except in like really deeper leagues. But dude, in 44 games last season, in all levels of the minors, he batted .360 with a .480 on base percentage, amazing plate discipline, a 1,157 OPS, 10 home runs, 36 runs, 30 RBI, 36 walks to 34 strikeouts. More walks than strikeouts. I love that, especially in a points league. 12 stolen bases, caught stealing 3 times. Let's see. So after he was hit by the pitch and he finally came back, he actually came back really strong, moving up at every level of the minors. Finished 2023 in AAA batting .368 with a .538 slug percentage and a 1,064 OPS. So I think that this is a type of guy that could definitely make the opening day roster for the Rangers. He's definitely going to get the invite to spring training. If he moved up that fast each level, he only played 2 months, dude, and less than 2 months, actually, only 44 games. And he moved up all the way from rookie ball to single A, double A, and triple A within just 44 games, within less than 2 months.
That's crazy.
And that's batting over 300 at every single level. And I think that production could just still continue, moving up to Major League Baseball. Usually there's some growing pains at every level, but he had none, man. He was just elite in every single level. So, like I said, the only man standing in Langford's way is Leody Taveras, so there's basically no one standing in his way. This is the reason why.
Yeah, if you got a NA spot, that's a great spot to draft them in, like towards the back end of your draft.
Yeah, and even in a categories league, man, even in a categories league, like where you have some of the batters as your bench players, I wouldn't mind stashing him on my bench, even if he isn't called up for the first month of the season. If I can afford it, I'm going to try to keep him on my bench. And like you said, if there's an NA spot in your league, definitely scoop up Wyatt Langford.
Word.
All right, that was it for our outfield preview. Let me show you this. Tier 6 real quick. So we had Seiya Suzuki, Nick Castellanos, Teoscar, Hernandez, and Wyatt Langford. All right, we reached the end of the show. Again, we thank you guys for listening to us. Make sure you scan that QR code in the top right corner to follow us on all of our social medias. And please hit that like and subscribe button. We'll keep on bringing you good content every week. And make sure you tune in this Monday for Carlos and Ernie's podcast. They're always fun to listen to. They do like the MLB news and rumors and history, and it's a fun show. And we will be back with our catcher preview next week.
Drop your comments, questions, all that good stuff, man. So we can interact more with you guys.
Yep. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Javi. For Javi, I am Will Power, and this was Real Talk Baseball Outfield Preview. Thank you, guys, and see you next week.
See you.